Hello, excuse the mess behind me. This is my first check-in on my vlog, and as I mentioned in my last vlog, I did indeed finish The Last Beginning by Lauren James, and I said that I'd talk about this one in this video, but actually I think I'm going to do a review of the duology, so this book and the first book, which is The Next Together. Yeah, The Next Together. I keep getting them the wrong way round, but yeah, The Next Together. Otherwise, I am continuing on with these three, so Fountains of Paradise by Arthur C. Clarke, The Mediator by Meg Cabot, and my audiobook of Words of Radiance by Brandon Sanderson. So I'll update you at the end of the week about where I have got to with those. And then my other read for the moment is State of Sorrow by Melinda Salisbury, and this is a young adult fantasy book that I'm reading for Yalc. I'm hoping I'm going to finish it in time, but probably not. I'm on page 44 of 452 and it's currently Wednesday evening and Yalc starts on Friday. So I suspect that it's very unlikely that I'll finish this one before Yalc, but if not, that's fine. It'll just be the one that I'm reading while I'm at Yalc, which is okay. I'm also reading Muse of Nightmares still. I don't have that, I've left it in the other room, but I've probably got about 2.5 hours of listening time left on that one, so hopefully I will finish that within the next couple of days. That's my plan anyway. But this one, I'm only just starting to get into it, but it is about a girl named Sorrow who is it called an heir when she's going to be a chancellor? I think she's the chancellor's daughter, and eventually she'll take over as chancellor of the place that she lives, the country that she lives. Don't really know. I don't read a lot of books where there are chancellors rather than kings and queens, but anyway, she's the chancellor's daughter, but the chancellor has depression and seems to be a drug addict, so he's not running the country and she's essentially having to do it for him. So that's really all I know so far. There are neighbouring kingdoms. They used to be at war, they're now in a time of peace. I'll probably be able to tell you more about this one at the end of the week, but I don't really have much to tell you for now. Those are my reading plans. If by some miracle I finish that before the end of the week, I will probably pick up either Solitaire or I Was Born for This by Alice Oseman, or The Unbound by Victoria Schwab. But I have Yalc this weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and there will be a separate vlog for that, so I'll still update this vlog at the end of the week as like my reading vlog, but there'll also be a Yalc vlog which will probably take me a little while to edit, so possibly that'll be up end of next week, and I may do a Yalc haul as well because I'm hoping I'm going to be able to get some really good deals and some really nice merch at Yalc. I'm really excited for it. So what that does mean though is I don't know how much actual reading I'll get done, and the majority of my reading during the week is done at the weekend, so it might be that this week is a bit of a slow week. Plus, once I've actually been to Yalc, I need to start planning my TBR for the Newts, which are starting in August, which is next week, which is crazy that August is next week, but it is. And I didn't want to plan my TBR until after I'd been to Yalc because I suspect and hope that I'll be getting some pretty great books whilst I'm there. But that's where I'm at for right now, and I'll check in with you again at the end of the week. So we're doing the end of the week check-in on Monday again because I wrapped up my Yalc vlog yesterday, which was Sunday, and it didn't really make sense to me to wrap up 2 vlogs on the same day. Maybe it doesn't matter, but that just felt kind of odd, so I thought that I would wrap up today instead. So my audiobook is still Words of Radiance. I started off the week on page 385 and I'm now on page around 700. I'm in the middle of a chapter, so I'm not 100% sure, but I've read this portion here, I have this portion left. I've read that much of the book so far. I'm getting through it more slowly than I would usually with an audiobook, but that's purely because I haven't had as much time for my audiobook as I normally do, so that's fine, that's not a problem. I'm still enjoying it, and as before, I am enjoying it more this time around, which is nice. I haven't read any of The Mediator or Fountains of Paradise. It's actually been a bit of a slow reading week for me because I had Yalk at the weekend, and so although I could have done a bit of reading at Yalk, I didn't do as much reading as I normally would on a weekend, nowhere near how much I normally would, and also I just didn't get as much reading done during the week either because it was a really busy work week, which I anticipated, so it was a bit of a slow reading week anyway. But I am still reading State of Sorrow by Melinda Salisbury. I'm on page 132 of this one. I am enjoying it. I don't want to judge it because usually I try to read books a lot quicker than I'm reading this one, and because when I read slowly through a book it impacts upon my enjoyment of the book. So it feels slow and dull, but I think that that's more because of the time I've been able to put into reading it rather than the story itself. So I'm still pushing through with this one and we'll see how we get on. It's okay so far. But again, I don't want to judge it based on my experience so far because that's more about the amount of time I've been able to put in to reading it rather than the actual book itself. I did finish Muse of Nightmares by Lani Taylor, which I read physically along with listening to the audiobook, and I still really recommend that. I think the audiobook is great and it's such an atmospheric story that listening and reading at the same time really added to that level of atmosphere and made a really immersive reading experience, which I really enjoyed, and I think that it was a very good way to experience this story in particular. I think I did like this one better than Strange the Dreamer. I felt like the story had more to it. This one just seems to move faster than Strange the Dreamer, and whilst because I read Strange in a short period of time, the pacing didn't necessarily bother me so much and it felt more epic fantasy in structure than standard fantasy, which meant that the slower pacing didn't bother me so much as I was expecting, and as it seems to bother quite a lot of people, and I understand why. This one is much faster paced, and I read this over a much longer period of time and I still found it engaging and well paced, and I really enjoyed the story and the character arcs that were in this one. I feel like we got a lot more character development in this book than we did in the first book, which is reasonable because it was more, I feel like this one was more character driven and the first book was slightly more plot driven, which doesn't sound like it makes sense because there was a lot more plot in this book than in book one, but I just felt like our characters developed so much more in this book, whereas in book one it was more setting the groundwork for who the characters are and what their personalities are like, and this is the book where they grew as people. So I enjoy that in stories, so maybe that's why I preferred this one, but that's worth noting if you prefer character setup and getting to know characters for who they are right now, then you might prefer book one. Just be aware that the pacing is a little bit slower. If you prefer character development, then book two, really great, and the pace is a bit quicker as well, or quite a lot quicker. And then I also read The Starlight Watchmaker by Lauren James, which came out last week, I think, or maybe it was the week before, not 100% sure. I picked up a copy of it while I was at Yalk because I wanted to get Lauren to sign it. Unfortunately, she wasn't able to go to Yalk in the end because her puppy needed emergency surgery, but he's fine now, which is good. I picked this up. It's really short. It's a short story. It's only 119 pages and it's like quite big, spaced out font, so I kind of used this as my read while I was at Yalk because it was a lot easier to just pick up and put down in between standing in signing queues and waiting for panels to start and that kind of thing. So I loved this. I mean, it's not really a surprise at this point because I've loved everything that Lauren has written that I've read, and I think I've read everything that she's written now. And this was another great one. This follows Hugo, who is an android, as he makes some friends, really. And I don't really want to tell you too much about it because it's so short, but none of the characters are human. They're all either robots, androids, aliens, whatever. And it's really a story of friendship, but I don't want to tell you any more than that. There are mystery elements too. Other than that, I'm not going to say anything because it's just so short. It is a really, really quick read, and although it took me a couple of days, that's just because I was dipping in and out of it here and there. I would highly recommend, and I think if you haven't read any Lauren James and you're interested to see whether you might like her writing style, I think this is a really good one because I think it's quite a good example of what her writing style is like without having to invest too much time. Although I think that you should invest a lot of time because all of her books are amazing, but this is a good place to start, I think. And I realised I didn't tell you what State of Sorrow is about, and I don't know if I did at the beginning of the week because I'd only just started it, but essentially it follows a character named Sorrow, who is the daughter of the King and Queen of one land, who have just signed a peace treaty with the neighbouring kingdom, but in the process of that happening, their son fell off of a bridge and died. So Sorrow is now the sole heir to become Chancellor when the current Chancellor dies, and her mother has died as well, and so has her grandmother. And her father is a drug addict who's suffering with depression because of all of the things that have happened in his life, and Sorrow is coming to terms with that and trying to deal with it. And I don't know how much more I want to say because lots more does happen, but it takes a little while to get there. There's a little bit of info dumping and setup at the beginning of this one. I think it is a fantasy, so that's not unusual. I think that Melinda Salisbury has a very distinctive writing style, which I haven't decided yet if I do or don't like. I read The Sin Eater's Daughter by her and I enjoyed the story, but was not 100% sold on the writing style. Whereas this one, I am enjoying the writing style slightly more, but I'm not getting into the story as quickly. But again, that's because I haven't had as much time to dedicate towards reading the book as I would have liked. I, of course, cannot tell you what Muse of Nightmares is about because it's a sequel, and I'm pretty sure I told you what Strange the Dreamer is about already. But that's it for this week's reading vlog, and let me know what you've been reading or what you're currently reading. And that's it for this one. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video and want to see more like this from me, then do think about hitting that subscribe button, and I hope to see you again soon. Thanks, bye.